Hello, my name is Gearry Caudell. I'm a faculty member here at Savannah Technical College, and today what I'm going to be showing you how to make is chicken stock. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and heat up my salad oil. Now, whenever we're making this stock, we're going to be actually doing a sweat on these vegetables. Now, sweat versus saute is going to be a very high heat, lower amount of fat. A sweat is going to be a higher amount of fat and lower amount of heat. We want this at about a medium-low heat. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to cook this until it gets nice and translucent. Next, we're going to go ahead and talk about our sachet. So our sachet is mainly, if you think about it in this aspect, we're trying to infuse the stock with the flavors of the herbs and the peppercorn and the bay leaf. Now, there's not really a true recipe for a sachet. However, it's, you got to think about the ingredients. Peppercorn, it can be strong at some point in time. Bay leaf can be strong, especially since these are dried herbs and dried spices. So I definitely want to stay away from using too much of this. However, the fresh thyme, it's going to give me a nice little herbaceous background flavor. And the curly parsley, it's going to give it just a nice freshness. But it's not going to take over from the stock. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm going to get this all in your cheesecloth. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to roll this and tie it up nice and tight so none of the ingredients get out. The idea behind a cheesecloth is that you're tying this up, that way you can take it out all at once. You're not going to have to go straining the herb leaves out or any of that. Twist it around, make sure it's nice and tight. Chicken cooking times on this one, for this stock, you're probably looking at about anywhere from 12 to 18 hours. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit longer of a process. So we're going to get this, once we have all the ingredients combined, we're going to bring this up to a medium-high simmer, which is about 200 degrees. And then we're going to be bringing that back down anywhere from about 180 to 185. For the chicken stock, what you want to do is we've already gotten a lot of the fat off of the chicken. And the more fat that you actually get off of the chicken, the better, the more clear your stock is going to be. You got to think about this logically. If I just put the whole chicken carcass in the pot, it's going to take much longer of a process or time period for that flavor to be able to be expelled within the stock. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and break this down. That way you're able to incorporate and be able to maximize all the flavor profile you're going to be able to get from the carcass. Take a nice solid chef's knife. Use the hind end of it, not the fragile front tip. And you want to go ahead and break this down into approximately 3 to 4 pieces, whatever seems appropriate. And now we're to the point where our mirepoix is nice and sauteed. If you notice, our onions, they're nice and translucent. It's already released a lot of its flavor. That way, we're able to incorporate our chicken carcass, and we're going to add our nice cold water. Now, the reason why we add our cold water as opposed to hot water, you'd think you'd want to start the process a little faster because it takes such a long period of time. However, you want to start off with cold water because you want that heating process to be a little bit more gradual. I'm going to go ahead and add my cold water. What you want to do is you want to bring the cold water to where it covers everything. So what we're going to do, just going to bring this up to temp. Remember, we're going to bring this up to about 200 degrees, and then after that we're going to cut it back down and let that go for a longer period of time, such as 12 hours, 12 to 14 hours is pretty good. And we're going to let that go at a lower pace at about 180. Now, if you notice, we have a little bit of fat on the surface, and that's from sweating our vegetables. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and get rid of that while I have a chance. How you would do that, you would simply take a ladle, push down on the ladle, and you can just skim the surface without taking any of the water content. So the more you actively skim this, the clearer your stock is going to be. as this is going to come up in temperature, that's when you would want to go ahead and add your sachet. So it's getting up in temperature now, so I'm going to go ahead and add my sachet, poke it down, and we're going to go through the cooking process. So while we have our chicken stock on the back burner, we're going to go ahead and let that simmer. I'm going to show you the straining process, because eventually we're not going to serve this chicken stock with all the other accompaniments. That's not what we're going to do. So the procedure for that is we're going to use like a fine mesh, or even could be more of a coarse mesh. And so what we're going to do, it needs to be able to fit your pan. So you're going to be able to go down in your pan and grab the chicken carcass and the mirepoix, and you can just go ahead and get rid of that. What's left is, should be the majority of your stock. So what you're going to do is you're going to have another pot, or you can have another pan which you're going to be able to cool it in. And taking a second to talk about cooling, you want to cool your stock from you're going to want to cool your stock from 135 to 70 within 2 hours, and from 70 to 41 within 4 hours. Okay, so you have 6 hours total, but the faster you cool this down, the more your stock is going to stay for longer. And this freezes absolutely, fantastically. If you want to store this in the refrigerator, then you could store that properly for around a week. So what we're going to do is I have my chinois, which is an extremely fine mesh strainer. This is going to be able to get, like, if there's any more of the impurities in there, this is going to be able to get and catch those, as well as our cheesecloth, which we used earlier in the sachet. What I do is, I don't know if you can see that, I have butcher's twine. I've basically just tied it over the top of the rim of the chinois, and that way you have a nice flat surface. That way it's not going to dip back into the chinois. So what we're going to do, you can start by ladling it, and once you have enough ladled into here to where you feel comfortable with messing with your pot, you can bring it over and you strain it out like so. So you'd want to strain this out prior to cooling, because again, you're going to have a lot of gelatinization and gelatin from the actual bones that's going to help to give it that viscosity. And that's the beauty of a stock like this, is it's going to have that viscosity, as opposed to a broth or a stock that you might buy in the grocery store. And that's a fantastic way to be able to utilize that carcass from your whole chicken. And that's how we make our chicken stock.